All right, Katy, welcome to the show.
Hello, Rudy. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
We're glad to have you. How do you pronounce your last name?
That's a great question.
Because there are different ways to pronounce that double L.
Yes. So there's like a French Villarreal.
Okay.
It's not the French Villarreal. It is like the Hispanic. This is Spanish.
Okay.
And maybe I'll get into that a little bit later, but my family, so my dad is Mexican, my mom is German.
Okay.
And so, but really we don't we're kind of just white. We're kind of just American.
Okay.
So we say Villarreal.
Okay.
That's like how my immediate family, we say Villarreal.
Okay.
That is definitely like the white person way to say it. But as far as some people say my last name way better than I say my own last name. There's even within my family, like my cousins, they say it differently than we do. They say like Villarreal or something like that. So Villarreal is how I say my last name.
So, but you also get Villarreal.
Yes.
You also, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but Filipinos pronounce it differently as well.
How do Filipinos pronounce it?
Filipinos pronounce the double L Villa. So it's Villarreal.
Wow.
Yeah, because there are a lot of Filipinos with Spanish last names.
I should do it that way.
Up to you.
Wow, I'm learning a lot.
So you've got different pronunciations. So that's why I wanted to.
Yes.
Katy Villarreal.
Yes.
The way you pronounce it.
Yes, that's how I pronounce it.
And the majority of your family.
Majority of my family.
So here at St. Faustina, your official position is?
Coordinator of Youth Ministry. That's the official title.
Okay. And your main job is you handle the teenagers?
Yes. So I take on anywhere from, if you are 11 all the way to 18, getting you out the door, that's kind of the age range. So those 8 years, we're going to try to take care of you the best we can. Yes.
So I was, when we were planning on having you here, we were like, who can we get? Because we've asked a whole bunch of women, including you, and we're like, who would be our first woman on the show? And like a lot of them are like, oh, I'm a little too shy. And I was like, Katy, she's not shy. She gets in front of preteens and teenagers every week.
Yes.
Talks, sings.
Yes.
All of that stuff.
Yes. Not afraid to make a fool.
And how long have you been here at St. Faustina?
This is my second year at Faustina, but I'm absolutely loving it. It's such a special community. So I'm very, very excited.
And this is a very young parish as well. So we're talking a lot of kids.
Yes.
How many are under you in the program?
So last year there was about 800 kids that were in our programming. Obviously with this year it's gone down a little bit more. So we're closer to between 600 and 700, but the numbers are still up there. And like you said, we're such a young parish, but we're continuing just to grow exponentially, whether that be with the numbers, our programs, ministries, all that kind of stuff. So that is definitely intimidating, but also really, really encouraging. I think I love having such a community that's just so behind the youth ministry program at St. Faustina.
Do you have any idea how our size in terms of youth ministry, that is, compares to other parishes in the Archdiocese?
Sure. So it's quite large.
So we're on
we're definitely on the bigger end yes, of things. Usually if I kind of throw that out there to other youth ministers, they're like, what?
800?
What? Yes. Yeah. I mean, they'll have a confirmation class of, 30 teenagers going through, and we just had 200 go through. So if that kind of gives you any idea.
So what kind of numbers do they have for overall, like you said, 11 to 18-year-olds?
Sure. Yes. So
they usually get what we're about 600 to 800. They're what?
And so it definitely depends on the parish. There are parishes that do totally have similar numbers that we do, but generally other parishes, they have their some sort of faith formation program for their junior high through high school. But really what they're focusing on is SAC prep, whereas we're talking about lifelong faith formation. So you're coming in as an 11-year-old, and how can we journey with you all the way through your 18? Confirmation is somewhere in the mix, right? But we really want to focus on forming you from being an 11-year-old to becoming an 18-year-old in the faith. That's really the idea. So so as far as numbers goes, ours kind of will stay that high for all grades until about their confirmation, and then it gets a little bit smaller. But thankfully, we do have programs for those students as well. So so at other parishes, they might not necessarily have those same numbers, and they might have between 100 and 200 that go through the confirmation program. But as far as kind of journeying with them the whole time, the numbers, are definitely look a little bit different, especially with our junior high ministry. We have quite a large junior high ministry.
All right. I mean, that's awesome that we can get the kids that early.
Absolutely.
And that, when there's during those formative years.
Yes, absolutely.
So talking about formation and lifelong, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Austin, Texas, actually technically Round Rock, Texas. And I always tell people, they're like, is your town named after like a really round rock? And the answer is yes. There is a very round rock that it's actually, and you know what? It actually, you'd think it'd be exceptional. And this is an exceptionally large or circular round rock that we named an entire town off of. But no, it's kind of an oval thing we've got going on there. It's a little bit jagged on the end, and it's probably, maybe as big as like our two tables put together. That's it. Apparently when there was just people were pioneering the frontier. They would just look for this round rock. Long story short, that's where I grew up, is in Round Rock, just outside of Austin.
Well, it rolls. Round Rock rolls off the tongue better than not so large, not so
oval. Yes,
oval, with a little jagged edge rock.
Yes,
Texas.
That is correct. That's correct.
So that's like just outside of Austin, right?
Yes. And I loved growing up in Austin. I absolutely loved growing up.
What parish did you go to over there?
So St. William's Catholic Church was my home parish growing up. And I, like you said, really the formation that I received at St. William's, it is really why our youth ministry program looks the way it does. So Chris Bartlett was my youth minister. He's now working with Ablaze Ministries. But he just, so we had similar numbers, just very large youth ministry program. We had about 400 teens coming, between 300 and 400 teens coming to our high school program. And then additionally high school leadership stuff. And really that relationship with my youth ministers, seeing what you can do to offer an encounter to this huge group of teens. Cause I think sometimes that feels so impossible or intimidating.
It does.
Yes. Yeah. And you're not always going to get, you're not going to be able to meet the need of every single teen, but in the long run, it was the whole youth ministry program at St. William's was focused on offering teens an opportunity for an encounter with the person of Jesus Christ.
So you've been there in Round Rock ever since.
Yes.
That's like raised all the way.
Yes.
Is your family still there?
They are still there. Yes.
So you said your dad is German?
My dad is Mexican.
Mexican, and your mom's German.
My mom's German. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that would be Chihuahua German Shepherd mix.
Yes. That's about right. That sounds about right. Yes.
I have a friend who's also half Mexican and half German.
Yes.
As well. So you said your family has like you said you were going to get into that with your parents.
Yeah.
And how did they meet and all that?
Yeah. Oh, well. So they, both my families growing up, they had their fair share of familiar struggles, really on both sides. And, but both my parents kind of had this sense of like wanting to be faithful despite whatever those struggles might look like. Anyways, so both of them ended up at Texas A&M University. Whoop. And so I don't know if you've heard of it. There's this thing called Aggie Awakening. Okay. So St. Mary's in College Station is also just a total like ground floor for just very well done ministry. I mean, it's like people, there's some articles somewhere that talks about St. Mary's being like the best Catholic university in the world, even though it's not, or something like that, even though it's not truly, it's at A&M, which is a totally secular totally secular campus. But long story short, so they have a just phenomenal ministry at St. Mary's, and both my parents met. Well, they fell in love staffing and Aggie Awakening together, which is like a big retreat. Yeah, it's kind of like the big retreat at St. Mary's. And so my dad was like the head of one staff. My mom was like the person that coordinated with him for another staff. And then from, I guess that's history. Then from then on, they continued.
So you're an Aggie through and through. It's
like in my blood. Yeah. I'd like to say we weren't brainwashed. And my family was like, oh, they were so open about us attending other schools. But I mean, like, it was impossible. Like, where did, every time we're driving through College Station, we'd stop at St. Mary's, and we just get that, the culture and the, like, it's absolutely vibrant, just the reality of the Holy Spirit there. So I think it was kind of impossible to choose otherwise. Yeah.
So your formation started in Round Rock.
Absolutely.
Then you went to college.
Yes.
At A&M and College Station.
Yes.
That was pretty much predestined, I guess, your legacy over there. Was it always in the back of your mind that you'd be doing this, what you're doing now?
It's funny. So my youth minister in high school was always just very encouraging. And in high school, I did really feel like I was the all-star like youth group kid. Mm-hmm. And I felt like this was just like home territory. I felt very seen. I felt like I could like be myself. And really, and ultimately I did find something in youth ministry that tugged at me. Mm-hmm. However, I think that going into college, there was this sense of kind of rejecting that idea of like, I have a lot of gifts and I can do all sorts of things. And I don't necessarily want to commit to youth ministry as a whole. And I'd seen it done poorly as well. And I'd also really, even truly, I feel like in my young, like teenage life, had already experienced burnout in ministry. And in some sense, yeah. I did like anything I possibly could do at St. Williams. And really, it wasn't rooted in a place of really understanding who the person of Jesus was and what God was asking from me and my mission. And there was a lot of expectations there that I either had been placed on me or I had placed on myself. And so going into college, I was like, no way, Jose, like I'll never do that again kind of thing.
So what'd you take in college?
So, well, there's a great question. So I changed majors 3 times.
Okay.
I entered as an education major. I thought I was going to teach high school English or something.
Okay.
Then I changed majors to communications, and I thought I would do, so I was really interested in trying to do like PR for like a pro-life group. So I thought I was like, oh, that'd be cool. Like being a communications director for some sort of pro-life group. Mm-hmm. That's an interest of mine. I've always, anyways. So I got an internship. I don't remember which summer that was in college. One of the summers in college earlier on, with a pro-life interest group in Austin. Okay. And I thought I was going to be under their communications director, but then long story short, I actually ended up being under their public policy analyst.
Okay.
And this was during the legislature, like it was on and going. And so I got to kind of be on the ground floor for like what it actually looks like to lobby for pro-life policy. And I was like on fire. I was like, this is all of like my gifts, all these things that I'm interested in. Like, this is it. And I just had such a blast that summer. I felt like I was really just utilizing the gifts that God had given me. And so going into junior year in college, I switched majors to political science. And I loved my major. I can't speak more highly of my major. Really like the stuff I was learning in class, I was just like, there's all of these issues that I care so deeply about. Yes. And I was just like eating up like the research and all of that stuff. Just like, I really just this kind of desire to advocate for the dignity of the human person. Like that really was what was at the root of it all, was just for people that didn't feel like they had a voice, for really trying to be that voice for them. That there really was like a desire that was struck in my heart. And I think I had already experienced that in my high school years of just the things that really were that was the most meaningful to me was, talking with people one-on-one, was reaching out to people that I felt like in ministry all kind of did that for me in high school. And so I was like, oh, this is it.
So how'd you end up
science.
doing this?
Yeah, it's a great question.
After political science, because this is your first job out of college, right?
This is my first job out of college. Yes. So the last year at A&M, so my senior year, this was 2018-2019 school year. I was going to graduate early in December, but I had St. Mary's, and I had always been involved at St. Mary's all throughout my years, even though I had kind of been like, I'm not doing ministry, that's not what I'm going to do. That senior year came around, and St. Mary's has a group of campus ministry interns, and I would never thought that would be something that I was going to apply for, was interested in. And I totally think this is one of those moments where the Holy Spirit just threw my hands off the wheel and just took it, because I was like, there's no way I'm taking that. And there was just continually, it was just like, just apply. And I was like, okay. And so I ended up applying all the 5 internships. They have a different kind of ministries that they're working with. And so I don't remember which one I originally applied for, but I ended up getting not the internship that I applied for. It was this random, it was the intern that handled outreach and the domestic mission trip. And I was like, I've never even been on a mission trip. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't understand. But there was something in me. I was like, I really want this. So I went for it. And so this is still I'm still studying political science at this point. But really that internship at St. Mary's is kind of what changed everything for me. And really my senior year in college, I feel like the Lord just opened up all of these avenues for me to just experience such profound growth and healing. And really it did start to come full circle to kind of where I was going in to college, thinking I'm never going to do ministry. And then through all of just these different opportunities, these gifts that I maybe had kind of put to rest a long time ago, they really started coming alive again. And I was just fully alive as an intern. And even the friends that were in kind of put into my life that year, it was just a beautiful year to just be poured into and to grow. And I did love school too. So it was just, it was beautiful. So I was really starting to experience just a lot of freedom and growth and pursuing the things that he was calling me to. And so December rolled around. And I graduated. And right off the bat, I actually got offered what I thought would be my dream job. So a public policy analyst at this pro-life interest group in Austin.
That's exactly what you were hoping for.
Exactly what I was hoping for. And I remember sitting in the car, on the phone with my dad, just crying, I don't know why I don't want it. This is my dream job, but I don't want it. I was like, there's nothing, I don't want this. And my parents were so confused. They were just like, what do you are you nervous? What's going on here? And I was just like, this is supposed to be my dream job. This is supposed to be setting me on fire. And I don't want this. Additionally, so that next semester, that's when the actual domestic mission trip that I was planning was going to take place. And they, that was when the domestic we were planning was going to take place was the next semester. And so I didn't feel like we were, I was like, I feel like I need to commit, just at least finish the internship, through the year. It doesn't feel right to leave. And that ended up kind of being the only excuse that was at least good enough to kind of get by the parents and talking about, what I was feeling and stuff. And then, finally I just kind of was like, I don't want it. And I didn't take the job. And I was very confused. I was like, what's going on?
Because it is very odd, because a lot of people, when they come out of college, they have to settle for a job that they can find rather than the one that they have that's right there, that fits what they've been studying, what they've been working towards. And then you get this, it's put right there in front of you and you're like, I don't want it.
Yes. Yeah. It was, and it felt so, it's again, one of those moments where the Holy Spirit is just, it was I was so certain, one, that I was like, I don't really know if I want to go home, back to Austin. I was like, there's some sort of, I remember telling my friends at that time when I was looking at my life, there was this, what did I say? When I was talking about my life, there was this mountain forest adventure on one side, and on the other side there was this desert or something, but it was very hopeful. Like there was already like a lot of hope planted in this desert that I could go tend to.
Okay.
And so I felt like so it was like taking the job back in Austin. It felt like it was kind of that desert where it's like, there's a lot for me to do. Like I think I can really like do some good here. I think I could feel very like settled and comfortable and very familiar with this, and I think I can do a lot of good. But then the other side, it was like there was this mountain that was just like adventure, and it was kind of dangerous, and I didn't really know what that would mean. But I was like, I feel like very certain that this is where the Lord is calling me to not accept this right now.
Okay.
And so I was like, if this job is for me, then maybe, there was a sense of really trusting that if this was truly not his will for me in this moment, that he was going to provide. So, and like really believing that he's a good father that's going to take care of me and trying to live that to like the extreme of this lines up exactly with my plans. This is exactly the thing. But that right now I am so certain in my just interior that I'm not at peace and this is not the thing that I want. And so like actually like praise God for the grace to actually be like, okay.
Because they always say like you make your plans and God laughs.
Yes.
And you made your plans. You were studying towards all of that.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're here. So how did you end up here at Faustina?
Yes. Yeah. So and God is so good to me. He like might chuckle, but then he's also very patient with me. He'll work through. He's like, oh, okay, we can go look at that for a second. He's like, okay, all right. And he'll like sit there with me for a moment until we move on to the next thing. He's very gentle, very patient. But yes. So second semester, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to keep applying for government jobs. Like I didn't necessarily feel like I was supposed to move away from that. I kind of I was thinking about pursuing grad school. I couldn't really afford it in the moment, like to go, right after, but considering all of these things. And so I remember as I would apply for government jobs, and I was really looking in like Austin. That was really all I was looking, even though I was kind of iffy about it anyways. That's kind of where I felt comfortable moving. And there was this one youth ministry job that it was in Austin parish that for whatever reason, it just kept popping up in my searches. Like no matter what I searched, it was just there. And it was like, I was not qualified for it. Like I was like, I don't know why this keeps popping up. And finally I just gave up. I was like, okay, I'll apply. Youth ministry. And so I was like applying for all these government jobs. And I put in one application to this youth ministry job. Wasn't hearing back from any of the government jobs, and did end up hearing back from this youth ministry job. And so obviously I didn't end up going through with that position, but that kind of position led to another position to apply for youth ministry. And that position kind of led to another until finally I was considering actually going back to my home parish. So that was kind of what my next move was. There was another parish in Austin that I was also considering, but I was like, I could like literally go back. And that's what really felt like the desert. It was like, I know that desert like the back of my hand. And I really feel like the Lord can move there. But then at the same time, it felt like there was something that I was missing. There's something that I wasn't like paying attention to. And so finally, actually, one of my friends that I met, so there's St. Mary's has multiple mission trips. And so she wasn't on my domestic mission trip. She was on one of the international trips, but she would plan different workshops and stuff with me. And so like the only reason I met her was through the St. Mary's internship. And it really didn't get close until that second semester, fun fact. But we were kind of getting closer. And so she got a job here in Katy, Texas. And actually she introduced me to another friend that just so happened to like have family in Katy, Texas. And I was like, that's so weird. I was like, Katy, like I've never thought about like Houston. Like that's probably the one place that I swore I would never go. I was like, really? Dallas, I guess I could try it. Like San Antonio.
Why not Houston?
Houston, I don't like the weather. Also, it's just flat. Austin is just not flat. And I love that.
Very flat.
Yes. I love the outdoor. Like Austin, I love Austin because of like just the hiking and
you can do all of that.
Stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. But so I was like, I have never even considered applying. It's like the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. I was like, I literally was only looking at the Diocese of Austin. And I was like, you know what? She was like, hey, I'm moving here. And I was like, you know what if I just like looked to see if there was a position opening in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston. So I like pulled up the website. I was like literally just the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston website looking at the job listings. And I saw St. Faustina. And that was like one of the only parishes that had like a youth ministry position open.
Yeah.
And it actually looked like something that I was maybe qualified for, like just the title itself. And so I was like, okay. And I was really drawn to it because St. Faustina is my confirmation saint. And there's actually only like 3, I think, St. Faustina Catholic churches in like the US or something. So I was like, that is just weird. It happens to be in the same place, like the same schools feed into it that my friend was going to be working at. I was like, that's just weird. I guess I'll apply.
Okay.
So I applied. And I remember I had just gone to the dentist's and I got in my car and I had this missed call from a random number, listened to the voicemail. It was Brian Lennox. And I called him and I called him back and he was like, hey, I'm a political science major that graduated from A&M and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then, I mean, really like after that conversation with Brian, that my heart was on fire. Like the sense of peace that I knew that I was looking for to be led by the Holy Spirit, it was here in this random, totally not at all what I would have anticipated but it was there. I was like, that's it. And so great phone call with Brian and then interviewed with staff and I was in love. I was like, this place is so special.
It's funny, like how you said earlier, God's like, okay, now she gets it.
Yes. He's like, I mean, so patient. I mean, literally it's like, there's right. That's fine. We'll look. Like we can look.
Watching her. Oh, there you go. Yes. Katy. You got it. Houston, St. Faustina.
Houston. Yes. Yes. Very patient with me. But yeah, then I ended up.
Let's talk about the programs that we have here. We've got Life Teen. We also have for the younger ones. What's the name of the program?
So we have Edge for junior high.
There
yes.
You go.
Yeah. And so we have our 6th graders are actually doing kind of a hybrid program this year.
Okay.
But they're invited to participate in different youth ministry events while they're still kind of doing elementary type catechesis. So we have Edge for 7th and 8th. We have our 6th grade program, and then we have our Life Teen program plus confirmation.
Yes. And what are the different challenges that come up with working with these different with different ages, different groups? Yes.
Yeah. Well, they are very different. A 6th grader also is tremendously different from an 8th grader. So you really do just get this like wide range of personalities and ages. It's a very, an 11-year-old is not at all the same in any way from an 18-year-old that's now an adult.
In terms of, maturity, interest, and all of that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And
disposition.
Yes. I think that, and praise God, so we did just recently hire somebody who's now the assistant coordinator of youth ministry, and he's kind of handling at least the program development, praise God, for the junior high ministry. So now I'm being able to do a little bit more focus on high school, but we're still trying to kind of not be siloed and help where we can with each other and be present in both those situations.
When we found out about that assistant, my wife and I were like, great, because what 800 kids.
Yes.
That is a huge job for Katy to take to take on just by herself. So thank God there's another person there to help you out. And especially with times like this where it's just everything's just crazy.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I like you said, so already those age groups are just so vastly different. And it's the same thing where, if you even write a 9th grader and a 12th grader, totally different times in their life. The needs are just completely different. And with a 12th grader that maybe hasn't had the opportunity to really encounter Jesus, what you're trying to do in that last year is like offer just something, right? Where the 9th grader, maybe you can move a little bit. You really are aiming towards walking with them even slowly, just like God walks with me slowly, trying to walk with them just wherever that they're at. There's definitely like more flexibility in that. Regardless, and then junior high is a totally different animal as far as the needs that are there and what they kind of require, even in, I mean, and that goes beyond, right? Like junior high kids might want to have more like physically active games. Even in like the program and the curriculum that you're developing, it looks a lot different between junior high and high school. No, go ahead.
Did your parents ever have an idea that you were gonna go into youth ministry? Since they were involved, in St. Mary's when they were in college?
I think that yes, is my short answer. So my mom helped a lot with like in our youth ministry program at St. William's. And that was always really cool because there was a lot of opportunities, especially when I was more on like the high school leadership side, where I felt like I got to do stuff like with my mom. And I know that was really special for me. I know growing up, and I think that was really special for her too. And so both my parents always really encouraged me in that. And like, even in like my, like, just music ministry or just all of that. They've always been very supportive. I think on some level, they probably felt that this was where I would end up.
Were they disappointed since, say, because they had found each other in St. Mary's and they had gotten married? They're like, maybe you'll find somebody at St. Mary's too.
No, they were disappointed, but I was disappointed. No, my parents, they're just phenomenal people. And they really did, like, as far as like dating and all that kind of stuff goes, especially in college, that's something like when then JP2 talks about it a lot, right? So I need to be a whole person that is whole in order to be able to like pour out, but then also to be able to receive another person. And so really in college, they pushed more just having that opportunity to really try to become more whole, to really move toward healing and growth and all that good stuff. And then kind of the natural fruit of that is relationship. And so, I had great opportunities to hang out with a lot of guys, but nothing, obviously still single, ready to mingle.
So you're on the market.
I'm on the market.
You're first interviewee that's on the market.
Yes.
Actually.
Tell everybody. That should be the title. I'd be like, Katy is on the market. Tell them all. Yes.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have 4 others. So 5 total of all of us, but I have 4 other brothers and sisters.
Where do you fall in the mix? Are you the older? Younger? What
do you think? Out of curiosity.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I'm the second oldest, the oldest girl, which I hope my brother isn't watching this, but he's the older. So it's my older brother, myself, younger sister, she's at A&M, younger brother, he's at A&M, and then my littlest sister is a freshman in high school.
But destined to go to A&M.
I guess destined to go to. My brother graduated from A&M. Just yes, yes. I don't know. Sophia, she'll do her own thing. We'll see.
Do you think she'll be a rebel and go to a rival school?
I don't know. It's funny because Sophia won't be like a rebel, but she would do like the practical thing of like, I'm going to go to ACC for 2 years and then transfer somewhere. So, like she's like, that's her kind of like, I'm going to save money. Like that's her vibe. Definitely.
Was there really a lot of pressure to go to A&M?
No, there really wasn't. Honestly, to be honest, there really wasn't. I think that it felt right, especially when all of the siblings kind of started going to A&M.
Okay.
I think that it's harder to kind of choose something else. There is definitely like a safety net, I think, in that.
So your parents didn't sit you down and say, look, we're not going to pay for your college unless you go to A&M.
No, they did not. No, they were very encouraging as we looked at other schools and stuff like that. I think their concern was always more like, you don't go out of state, but that, but otherwise I think they don't mind wherever we're kind of feeling called.
So we've talked about Edge, Life Team, Confirmation, young adults here. And then the reason why we're both smiling is because there's some hijinks. Just recently we had that video of Father David Michael getting pranked.
Yes.
Who thinks of all this stuff?
Not me.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. Can I say something? I'm glad this is going on the record, is that I like last year in particular, everyone did pinpoint me because, and probably to the dismay of the masterminds that are truly behind this, because I really, like last year, I opened doors. Okay, that's how that was my role.
Okay,
is I opened doors. I told them maybe what time like people were gonna be here and stuff. But I never I was not creating these pranks. And the same for this year. Like I really I knew what was happening, but I was definitely not this ultra participant. But so yes, there is a group of women that are just phenomenal. They participate. They're on core team for Life Teen, and they're wonderful, amazing ladies. And
the energy of that group is just something else.
It's something else. And I do think that I would say that I have a good amount of energy, but it's above and beyond. I also, and I don't want to give away too much about the true master mind behind all these pranks, but I will say it's not who you'd expect.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's they're all in cohorts with each other. But I think some of the in-depth detail planning of these that makes it truly close to maniacal, where you're like, what? How did you think of that? It's not who you'd expect. She's awfully sweet.
Okay, so did this all start with mainly Father David Michael being the target?
Yes, I do think that him coming last year it awoke something. That was there.
What was the
just
first
resting.
prank that was played on Father David Michael?
Oh goodness!
Was it the headshots?
That was part of their first prank week.
Okay.
That wasn't the first one they did. That one personally is still my favorite. That one's still my favorite.
Headshots
yes,
all
the
over his
headshots.
wall.
I mean, I was dying. I was dying laughing. That was just it's genius. I mean,
he was a new guy here. Everybody's seen his picture.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere. It's in the bulletin. It's on the website. This is our new priest. This is our new priest. That one shot.
Yes.
And then it's just all over.
All over his office. I mean, genius. And his chairs, taped on the chairs. I mean, it was incredible.
Do you think it's because he's so young? He's right around the same age as
yeah, especially, and he's just been really, I know he probably can speak more to this, but just, I think young adults are like his bread and butter. Like he really does just do so well with them. And he is a just phenomenal man. And so he does just a great job pouring into that group of people, and they love to pour into him, whether that be pranking him or just growing in relationships. So I think it's gotta be definitely personality and definitely the age, just all fits perfectly.
We're so blessed to have him at the parish because I believe it was one of the times that he spoke and sang and rapped in front of the teenagers for Life Teen, and was like, okay, there's our young priest breakdancing. There he is.
Yes,
he's breakdancing in front of the kids. That's so awesome.
I remember we went to a junior high archdiocesan rally last, and Father David Michael went with us. He was actually the keynote speaker. Very cool. And so Faustina just we represented. He was up there and we were going wild. We were like, that's our parochial vicar. So excited.
So what other pranks did we have on him? So the headshots last year. Air horn. Oh yes, underneath his chair. They sticky note. They put sticky notes all over his Jeep last year. That was the final one I think they did in the morning. There's been a lot of good ones. This year in particular, I think the most devastating was the potentially having his car broken into. Okay. How did you guys do that? Somebody rolled down the window?
Somebody had his keys, and this is what I'm saying when I say a little bit maniacal, because they got, his dad, the cops. Everybody.
His dad was involved.
His dad wasn't. That was the key. Is that they had his dad involved, and that helped, because who did he call? Immediately as he sees his car is being broken into. And so they rolled down the window. They had glass shattered on the ground.
Was that real glass?
Yes.
Not prop glass or anything like that. So
I don't know.
Somebody got some real glass.
Maybe they did.
Broke
some mason
it at home,
jars are chunky. Yeah.
And then
I have no idea. But and then they had the window rolled down, called his dad, and then his dad was like, hey, roll up the window. And he rolls it up, and he was just I remember in the video you can hear him, he's like, respect. I have respect.
He's like, that was awesome.
Yes.
Because getting the window rolled down, that is really something.
Yeah, you got to get keys for that.
You got to get the keys for that.
Yes.
And then
there's a lot
the
of trust
glass
there.
all over the place. Did you guys call the cops ahead of time?
I guess they called the cops ahead of time.
And informed them that, hey, somebody might call 911 about a broken car?
Yes, I think so. Well, I know that like one of the girls, I'm pretty sure she's like, one of her, like a relation is a police officer. I think that might have had to do with it. But again, I don't know the details.
So that cop that came in the video rolling up kind of already knew and had an idea about what was going on.
Yeah, he was in on it, totally in on it. Yes.
That's something else. And then my personal favorite is the teddy bears.
The teddy bears.
All the stuffed animals.
Golly.
So the church was collecting stuffed animals.
Yes. In order to put them into his office. I mean, incredible. It was incredible.
So this wasn't for a program for kids or something?
No, it's so funny. I remember from our retreat last year, I had all these stuffed animals still like left over from the retreat in the back of my trunk. Never had done anything about them. And I remember Daniela, I just gave away one of the names.
One of the accomplices.
Girls, yes, one of the girls. It was like after mass, and she let me know what we were doing, and she was like, "Do you have stuffed animals?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have 2 trash bags full of stuffed animals." Yeah, and so they were and I know that there was a couple other ladies at the parish that were just collecting. I mean, calling people. It was incredible the amount of stuffed animals.
Wow, so these weren't stuffed animals that were just already there. No, it had to be really collected.
It was truly, I mean, I think that was an amazing fundraising effort. I mean, really, I think we need to get them going on something like for Faustina to get us.
I love the moment where, so he walks in and he's like, wow, all of these stuffed animals. And he thinks that's it.
Yes.
That's it. And then that moment where he walks up to the gigantic teddy bear and it reaches out to him.
I mean,
and he shakes. He's like, ah.
I mean, again, I can't. Like, it really, I'm just like, I cannot believe y'all thought of that. Also, we're willing to climb inside a teddy bear. That is pretty, that's very pretty amazing.
Hard to breathe in.
Yes. The breathing is what really gets me. I don't know how that.
How long was she waiting in there?
I saw them prepping. It was like not a little bit of time, because I remember that day when he came in, it was a lot later than expected too.
Oh no!
So I think she was sitting in there for quite a while inside the hot teddy bear.
So she's sitting in there waiting for him.
Yes,
trying to stay still.
Did a great job.
It was fantastic. Definitely worth it. I loved it so much. I created a little GIF.
I saw it. Yes.
Just of him going.
I love it. Yes.
But it doesn't do it justice. You got to have the sound of him screaming.
Yes, you got to get the sound. He's
like, oh my gosh. That's so freaky. I love it. So
funny.
We had Deacon Houston in here.
Yes.
And he says he hasn't been pranked yet. So I don't know if you have the connection. But,
I have the connections. Yeah. That's what I'll say. I'll have the connections. I can pass along the message.
Is this like a Peter Parker situation? Like, could you please tell Spider-Man, but it's actually...
No, I think it's like, I'm trying to think of a different example. Maybe it's like, I don't know, the Avengers or something. And I'm like, who's a pointless Avenger? It doesn't really do much.
No pointless Avengers.
Yeah, I don't know. Then I give him a call. I'm like, guys, I'm tired. But
we need to bring you in
mission.
Here. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So is there anything in the works yet for Deacon Houston?
There's nothing in the works for not that I know of, but again, maybe.
Has there ever been talk about pranking Father Dad? Or is that off limits?
It's not off limits.
Because Father Dad's a really, he's a casual guy. He's very jolly. And
now, if you think that like I've been in cohorts with these ladies, you've got to talk to Father Dad, because Father Dad has been, many doors have been opened by Father with the master key. Many doors have been opened. So I think he might be like owed a prank. I think that Father Dad might be.
Father David Michael's like, all right, you guys got to help me out now.
Yes, exactly.
Has he ever gotten back at anybody with the pranks, or he's just not at that level in terms of creativity for pranks?
I don't know if I think it would take a lot to get back, like get them back, it would really,
because they're so good at it, they'd see it a mile away.
They're really good at it. They are really, really good at it. Yes, they're really good at it.
All right, so you've been here at St. Faustina for about a year and a half now.
Yes.
What are your plans for the future, for yourself or for the ministry?
Absolutely. So for the ministry, we really want to look toward continuing to create the opportunity for our groups of teenagers to encounter the person of Jesus. I usually say what we want youth ministry at St. Faustina to be like is to be walking back, like literally into the garden. So the original plan, perfect communion with God, perfect communion with each other. And we're not going to get that, spot on, but we're trying to foster that kind of an environment. And so it's an environment of inclusion. It's an environment of love. And then it's an environment of discipleship. That's kind of how we move. And so that's what we want to continue to be doing with our programs. We want to continue to offer more and more things and continue to facilitate all of that. Hopefully we'll be moving into a new building with more space, and that'll also kind of foster the environment that we're looking for with our leadership team. We're for high school, we're continuing to develop them, and they're absolutely phenomenal and really just such a special part of what we do. Personally, I'm just thrilled to be here at Faustina. I will be starting school actually in January. It's online, but I'll be able to do that alongside working here, and I'm very, very excited.
What are you taking, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not at all. So I'm going to be starting my master's in science in clinical mental health counseling. So yes, yeah. So it definitely, there's a very, especially in ministry, that is the part of ministry that is the most captivating to me, that I feel like where my gifts are most aligned. And so I am going to be pursuing that alongside.
And there is a need for that, especially, nowadays where things are just pretty tough.
Yes.
And there's so many challenges, especially that our youth have to deal with. So do you see yourself here doing this for years and years to come?
Yes. Yeah.
As the parish grows.
Continuing. And I think that, as of now, really for me, that degree in particular, especially I think in my first year at Faustina, it was very evident, especially in different conversations I did have with teens. And that number one, that was the part that I loved the most about my job. And that ultimately working with teens like that there, like you said, there's a tremendous need for all of that. And I really did end up finding with ministry in particular that it was like in political science, I cared about like all of these issues and the fractionalization that we see in society and all of this deintegration, just like splitting apart, was all just a reflection of what was happening in the interior of individuals. And so I felt like where I could most where my mission was, where my call was being able to help find that wholeness and that integration in the individual and in the person and in relational ministry. And so again, I think that at Faustina, that's always the where we start. And then from there we can move to everything else. So as of now, I'm excited to continue to see teens grow, program grow. I'm very excited.
Speaking of teens growing, do you ever look at some of the teens and say, this person would be a great youth leader?
Yes, I do. There's definitely, there's, and I don't so some of them have asked me about it kind of thing, that they might have a question, or they're kind of like, this is I think I would want to do something like this. Usually I try to, with all of the kind of stuff, it's I try to affirm the gifts I see versus the calling, you know what I'm saying? So it's these are, wow, I see all these awesome things in you as a person. And then from there, I think that that maybe can help clarify where they feel like they're moving or going. That's usually the approach I try.
Do you ever have any of those teens that graduate high school going to A&M? You tell them St. Mary's.
Oh yeah,
St. Mary's.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity. So a lot of our seniors are at A&M, or from last year are at A&M, and my siblings are both at A&M. And so every time I get to go up, I usually try to meet with them over coffee or see them, as well as my siblings. So, and they're just doing, they're phenomenal.
All right. So you mentioned when I talked to you before about a family vacation that was ruined by Uno.
Yes.
That you wanted to talk about?
Yes. That question, I was thinking about it and I was like, I think that's always a story. Give us a little insight into my family, into myself. Yeah. So how old was I at this point? I think I was either 13. I was between the ages of 12 and 14. I feel like I was 12 or 13. Anyways. And so my family, we don't really go on vacations. Like that was never something we did. We didn't if we were going on vacations, we were just like seeing family in Texas. And so it was very, very rare that we went. And so I was 12, 13 or 14, can't remember which age. And we were going to go to Destin, Florida. We were going to go to the beach. Okay. A nice fancy beach.
Was this a road trip or a flight?
This was a road trip.
Okay.
So tensions are already high. And so we drove to Destin, Florida. It was like, there's multiple things. It was beautiful to be together as a family.
Okay.
There's multiple things that were just kind of going wrong. And then we were all sitting with each other around the table, and we decided we were going to play this Uno game. My family is very competitive. And we also, I think everybody has a very strong sense of justice.
Okay.
And so we're playing this Uno game, and there ended up being this conspiracy that one of my siblings was cheating. And I also started to lose in this game of Uno. And so I don't know what it was, but the tension just hit on whatever was there. And I mean, it exploded. Like everybody just lost their minds and
over an Uno game.
Over an Uno game, yes. And it became resolved at some point, but I mean, the night ended, everybody like in their own room, in their own space. It was quite the event.
It was a family crisis.
A little bit of a family crisis, I guess you could say.
And then you said something about a rabies vaccination.
Oh gosh, I can't believe these are the stories that I told you. Yeah. My rabies vaccination. I always feel like that's kind of my fun fact. Usually when people, you go around in a circle and you have to say a fun fact, I'll be like, I've had the rabies vaccine. Not many people have had the rabies vaccine. I'm saying that. Have you had the rabies vaccine,
I
Rudy?
don't believe I've had the rabies vaccine.
Yeah. So I was a sophomore in college, and I love to run. I was on a run, and I was running back into my complex, and there was this girl walking with her dog, and whoever's dog that was. And I was like, oh, cute dog. And so what you should do when you're running past a dog is slow down.
Okay. I didn't know that.
And not hold out your hand to the dog.
Okay.
Usually that's not what you should do, I guess. So, but that is what I did. Is I continued to jog past the dog. I thought it was really cute. I was going down to kind of pet him as I was running by. Okay. And I guess I scared that dog, and it bit me in the side. Okay.
Oh boy.
And so in the moment I was like in shock, like he bit me, and I was like, like I didn't even realize what happened. And the girl was like, what? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And I was like right outside my apartment or my townhouse at that point. And so I just kind of like ran inside, and then I was like, I like looked down, and I was like bleeding so bad. Wow. And so I was like, I just got bit by a dog. And so I was like calling my mom. I was calling my grandma who like works with dogs. Like I was like, I don't know what to do.
The dog didn't have its shots.
Well, so the dog did not have a collar. That was the issue. This girl was walking with the dog and didn't have his collar. And so that was like a little suspicious. And actually I was pretty like calm. Like I was like, the girl was with it though. Like probably there's no way that it didn't have his shots or anything. But when I called my mom, she is my mom. And so she was like, you are going to die. She was terrified, right? I mean, she was very, very nervous. And then my grandma was kind of like, it'd be better to get the vaccine than to, I don't know, die with like foam coming out of my mouth or something.
I learned recently about rabies is once you start having symptoms,
you're done.
It's too late.
It's too late. Yeah. It's too late, it's very scary to think about.
Do you have a scar or anything?
I do have a scar. And that night was just absolutely, so I had my bite. I went to go get a tetanus shot, and then I remember like sitting in that like my roommate had taken me to the ER, and I'm just like sitting in there after I get like the tetanus shot first. And then they come in and they're like, okay, well, animal control is going to be here in just a second. I'm like, what? I have to talk to animal control? And then you come to find out, animal control was going to like go after this dog.
Wow.
And then if they found it, this is like, I never knew this is what happens when you get bit by like an animal that's possibly domesticated. So they were like, we're going to find the dog and we're going to stick it in like puppy jail, essentially. Okay. Like quarantine for 14 days, basically watching this dog to see if it shows
if it exhibits
signs
any, yes.
of rabies. So I was like, oh my gosh. They're like, yeah, we're just going to camp outside your complex and like see if we see anything. I was like, I can't believe it. And so for like weeks, I would be like walking, like getting off the bus, like walking into my complex and like see all of these animal control people in my complex being like, I mean, like, so it was anyways. So, and then eventually I got this letter being like, we couldn't find the dog. We recommend that you get the vaccine. And you think it's just like, well, one, not most hospitals. That's not true. There are select hospitals that actually have the rabies. Carry the rabies vaccine. And it is not a one and done kind of thing.
Apparently it's a series of shots.
It is
right?
a series of shots. I can do shots.
Do they still stick it in your stomach?
They stick it everywhere. I mean, I think it was 8 shots. And I mean, they were everywhere, like including like the bite area. It was very intense. And then after you do, so that's the initial about 8 shots. You do about 8 shots in the initial treatment. And then you have to go back to keep receiving the shots for, I don't remember how long that was, but for a couple weeks, you have to keep going back to only the hospitals that have the rabies vaccine. So,
and did this happen in Round Rock or did this happen in A&M?
It happened to A&M. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So if you ever think you need help dealing with an animal that might be rabid.
So if you're running, don't stick your hand out.
Yes.
Don't keep running.
Yes.
You're supposed to slow down.
I would say I did. What did take me a while on my runs. Like I definitely was a little bit more nervous around. I love dogs, but I was like a little bit more nervous around them for a little bit. Definitely.
So do you do things like that all the time? Like wave flags in front of bulls and stuff?
So. I just like to test the waters, living on the edge.
Is there anything else? Fun facts that you'd like to share about yourself?
I don't know.
Your parents, you said your dad's Hispanic and then your mom is
German.
Sure. Do you speak any of those languages? Nope.
Like I said, we're kind of just white. we're kind of just American. No, I do feel like at St. Faustina, I've had the opportunity especially with actually the particular girls, the group of girls that do the pranks. There's a lot, most of them are Spanish speakers. And I feel like I've had like a mini immersion. They've really been like working with me, pushing me in my Spanish. So I'm learning.
You're
slowly.
Like, you've got the last name.
I mean, I have to. Yes, exactly. Maybe one day I'll be able to say my last name correctly.
Well, you can say it however you want. It's your name.
It's my name. That's right.
Any final words for any of the teens that are, or anybody who's getting into youth leadership? Yeah,
I think my only kind of last words to them would just be to be confident in their unique mission, their unique call, their goodness, to continue to pursue the person of Jesus, and then that it'll become very clear what he's calling them to.
Do you ever is there a group of youth ministers from around the archdiocese that get together, like a support group or something?
Yeah. There's a couple different programs like that, and Facebook pages and stuff like that for youth ministers to kind of be with each other and all,
cry on each other's shoulders and all of that. I would assume that during the pandemic and onwards, there are lots of challenges and solutions that you all share with each other.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. We continue just to put all of the resources out there. Like we did our confirmation retreat last year was totally online and we didn't really do Zoom or anything. We created this kind of a dynamic website with videos and reflections and all that kind of stuff. And we ended up being able to pass that along to other parishes and stuff like that. So stuff like that happens all the time where youth ministers are asking each other, like, what's a good game we can do via Zoom or just in general, right? Just asking each other questions and continually, trying to pour into each other, supporting each other.
We thank you so much for all of your work here at St. Faustina.
Thank
Katy.
you, Rudy. Thank you.
And we wish you the best and, more pranks to come.
That's right. I'll let the girls know. Watch out, Deacon Houston.
Oh, boy. There you go, Deacon Houston. Watch out. You've got a big target on you.
I guess.
You have until January.
Till January.
Just a few more months.
There you go. We'll get on
it. And then you'll be pranking Father You said
I guess, yes, that's right.
And maybe Father Dad's got it coming.
Maybe Father Dad's got it coming, man. I got to pass this along.
I didn't plant that seed. Thank you so much, Katy.
Thank you so much, Rudy.